It's official. Assemblyman Todd Kaminsky, a Democrat, will face attorney Christopher McGrath, a Republican, for the open Skelos seat on Long Island. The date of the primary will be April 19th. Joining us to discuss the race as well as the Senate Republican priorities is Senate Majority Leader John Flanagan. Welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
So do you think that this is going to be the big bellwether race that a lot of people think it's going to be?
Sure. You can look at what's happened in the southern tier with the 52nd Senate District. That was an important race. We prevailed. Our candidate, because we had the right message, won by 58 percentage points. Here we have a great candidate, Chris McGrath, family steeped in history in the area, and people are going to get to know a lot about him. They're really going to like him. I met with him and spoke with him on the phone several times, had a lengthy meeting with him on Saturday. He's the real deal. Family guy. He has 3 successful daughters, grew up in the area. His dad passed away when he was 18 months old. His mom raised 4 kids, working jobs constantly. He's been a very successful and highly respected attorney.
Let me present to you another alternative way of looking at this race, and I'm going to be provocative here. With 89% of people telling the Siena poll that corruption is in the state government is their most serious problem. It's a very serious problem to them. The Republicans are running a personal injury attorney against a former prosecutor for a seat that's vacant because of convictions in bribery, extortion, and conspiracy. So how do you respond to that narrative?
Oh, very easily. No, you have to give people a chance to get to know Chris McGrath. He's been active in all kinds of youth sports. He grew up working a lot of jobs when he was growing up as well, putting himself through school and law school. He is steeped in the community. I'll match his record. I'll match his integrity with anybody's. And he has an excellent reputation. He's been honored. He was president of the Nassau County Bar Association. He's gotten a statewide award, which has only come to 2 Long Island attorneys ever, highly prestigious for his professionalism and his ethics. He works in the area of personal injury.
It sounds like you're a fan.
I am.
But he also will you put your money behind him, too?
Absolutely. For a multitude of reasons. But he's done work with 9/11 families pro bono. He is a senior member of the firm that he's been with since 1982, I believe. So he's been around the block. He's, I believe he's an excellent candidate who will be delivering the right message. Now, you want to talk about stuff on the other side, the Assembly Democrats and Todd Kaminsky. Todd Kaminsky voted against pension forfeiture. I don't know how you go out and say you're in favor of getting rid of public corruption and you go out and vote against pension forfeiture. He would be part of the same Democratic conference that raised taxes $14 billion. He'd be tied at the hip with New York City. One of the reasons we feel so strongly about our conference is we believe that we need balance in the state of New York. I think that we provide that balance. We have a much more diverse conference than people realize, and we are putting forth the right message. And I don't think we would have. We've proven in a variety of elections recently, but just take the 52nd Senate District. I think we have an A-level candidate here in Chris McGrath. I think he's got the right message. Here's another thing. There's Todd Kaminsky now has a record. He has a public voting record for which he's going to be held accountable. He also has been campaigning. He took an $11,000 contribution from the Soros family, who gave $100 million to Human Rights Watch, who was going after Israel. I don't know how you can do that and say you're in favor of the things that you are.
One of the things that the governor endorsed Kaminsky on was the fact that he is for paid family leave. Where is your conference on that, and where will McGrath be?
I haven't spoken to Chris McGrath about that. He certainly has his high school sweetheart is his wife today. He's got 3 accomplished daughters.
80% of people had told Siena that they want paid family leave.
Yeah, Susan, we have had conversations already. I've made public statements. I was at Abney last week. Someone asked a question about paid family leave, and I believe that there have to be some real open discussions on that.
So it's not a closed door, but there are some tweaks that could happen to the governor's proposal that would allow the Senate Republicans to support it?
We are open to discussing anything. I made some comments that, the governor's proposal is a good start, at least for purposes of discussion. My colleague and our colleague in the Senate, Jeff Klein, is the one who really got the ball rolling on this a couple of years ago, and I think his input and his thought would be extremely important. It is an absolute subject worthy of discussion. Where we end up, I don't know, because we have enough challenges for employers in this state. We don't want to saddle them with additional costs. If it's an employee-based system, depending upon the length of time, what type of businesses would be affected. A lot of our members have spoken about this, but I can't represent an official position of our conference at this juncture, and respectfully, I just haven't spoken to Mr. McGrath about it.
But you're open to conversations about it. More open than, say, the minimum wage, $15 an hour minimum wage.
I'm open to discussions on that, too. Even if there is not a resolution, the governor's proposal, a lot of our members have very, very grave concerns about that. And
the minimum wage proposal.
Yes, but they balance that by they want equal opportunity and great economic opportunity. We want to talk about job training, job retraining, workforce development skills, all things that affect one's ability to do business.
Sure.
You want to have an opportunity for people to have upward mobility. And what the governor's proposing on the minimum wage, with an offset of $300 million in small business tax cuts, is just not enough.
But if he raised that bar, would that be sort of one of the ways to get it to where you want it to be?
Where we all want it to be. If there's, you know this very well, at some point on issues small and large, if things are going to get done, people have to compromise.
Well, it sounds like you're willing to compromise.
Yes.
The governor is also talking about some other issues. Your issues involve eliminating the gap elimination adjustment. The governor wants to do that over 2 years. You want to do that in 1 year. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. We had made that a signature issue. I've spoken more on getting rid of the GEA than probably any other elected official. I've been in more meetings than you could shake a stick at, and we have clearly laid out our positions. Long before the budget came out, I said that this was our number one issue, and it had to be eliminated this year.
So we talked to a lot of people in upstate New York, and there are some upstate school districts like Utica and Syracuse that would benefit a lot more if we instead fully funded the foundation aid formula. Why not also push for that?
The governor put $266 million of new foundation aid money in the budget. I believe at the end of the day that we will have equitability. We will get rid of the GEA, and we'll start the further movement for full funding of foundation aid. I'm not going to sign off on a plan that is inequitable across the state, but I also recognize what the GEA has done to schools all throughout the state. Foundation aid, of course, is important. We spend billions of dollars in that area.
And it's specifically geared to schools that are poor, that aren't doing well, low-wealth schools.
To some extent, but at the end of the day, the foundation aid formula is supposed to be the formula for school districts all across the state of New York. Every year, just take the last 4 or 5 years, the bulk of new funding for education has gone to high-needs districts. I can prove that unequivocally, factually, statistically. So whether you call it GEA or foundation aid, we have driven money into areas where there are higher needs.
There are some groups like the Alliance for Quality Education that are pushing for the full restoration of money they say districts are owed from the Campaign for Fiscal Equity case. And we're talking over $4 billion here. What is your position on that?
I believe the most important thing we need to do every year in the state of New York is fully and properly fund education for children all across the state of New York. We put a record increase in aid last year, $1.4 billion. The single largest growth area in the budget. And we have done that for the last 3 or 4 years, and I'm very proud of that. And I'm not going to dance around it, nor am I going to apologize for it. Between that and STAR funding, we're committing over $27 billion of taxpayer money to education. There are those who are always going to clamor for more, and there are those who are always going to want more. But
do you think
we spend a lot of money on education.
No doubt, we do. But do you think that the CFE decision is still relevant and still something that the state needs to abide by?
Yes, but let me put it this way. Going back to what we were talking about before about elections.
Sure.
When the Democrats were in charge and control in the Senate, there were $14 billion in new taxes and fees, $14 billion increase in spending. Long Island got cut when there was an increase. Long Island took a bigger share of the decrease under Senate Democratic rule. I didn't create the GEA. I voted against it. The Democrats created the GEA.
Nobody wants the GEA. The GEA is something that is a vestige of the recession and the moment we had no money. But now we do have money. You're saying let's restore it all. Why not also restore more foundation aid formula?
I'm making myself very clear. There will be more money for foundation aid beyond what the governor had proposed. And I'm no genius figuring that out. That comes with part of negotiating a budget and effectuating a compromise.
I wanted to ask you about another issue that was in the Siena poll today, and that is ethics. A lot of people have said that they won't even vote for their own state legislator this year because of recent corruption, or they're less likely to vote for their own state's legislator this year because of recent corruption scandal. Yet the Assembly proposes bills the Senate won't pass. The Senate proposes bills the Assembly won't pass. How will you personally address this impasse?
Well, there's an impasse in some respects, and I'll use one example. Our conference is philosophically opposed to the public financing and campaigns. I believe if you went to a Siena poll and asked taxpayers what do they think, would you rather spend $300 million on health care and education or on paying for politicians'
No
campaigns?
doubt, but how will you get around that? How will you guys both come to an agreement on ethics changes that you can pass?
Well,
because voters are outraged.
Two things. Public integrity and public trust are extraordinarily important. I believe if we're actually doing our job and delivering on economic development, education, transportation, health, environment, all those subject matter areas, that goes a long way towards restoring and instilling greater trust on behalf of the public. We are willing to sit down and have conversations, and we will. I mean, the governor's proposal, there's a lot in there. But I would also hasten to add, respectfully, that while we have every intention of having further discussions, we have made changes in the ethics laws, I think, 5 times in the last 6 years. And
it's like really every year you guys tackle ethics, but it never seems to be what is the nut of the problem.
We are at a crossroads in many different ways, I think, for the well-being of the state in terms of our economy, business growth, and all those types of things. I want to have people have faith in their government. I want to have them feel good about the people who represent them and all kinds of things like that. And as I said, we will sit down professionally, diplomatically, work with both the Speaker and the Assembly and the Governor. And I believe, as we have proven in the past, we'll come up with good results.
Well, it's always good to